Hello, this is Truman, and here's another great verse for today. When Jesus was on the cross, he made 7 statements. One of those is, "It is finished." This is part B of that statement. We just looked at when that word was used, and that day was often used by the priest when they examined the sheep. And if the lamb was spotless, without blemish, that he was acceptable to be made a sacrifice. And the priest would say, "It is finished, is perfect, complete, acceptable." Well, Jesus from the cross was examined by God the Father and was acceptable. Now, a second way in which this word was used in that day was with commercial debts or even personal debts. And so if a person had a long list of personal debts, and that list was a contract, and he had to pay his debt, and he worked hard, and he finally was able to pay the debt, then they would take and right across that debt, that same word that Jesus used from the cross, "It is finished." And that word meant paid in full. Well, that really speaks to me because when I was a little boy, we had a little country store. In that country store, my father had an account. And so my mother would send me to that country store and say, "Son, go get some milk, some eggs, and some bread." And I'd go to the store and I'd pick it out, and I would leave without having to pay any money. You say, "Well, how's that possible?" Because my dad had an account. And so the store owner would take and put down the eggs, the bread, the milk, every item that I'd taken. I did not have to pay. And I walked out and brought those items home to Mom. But when my dad got paid on Fridays, he would go to the store. And I would go with him, hoping he'd let me buy a candy bar. At the store, I can remember so often, my dad would have the owner bring out the account, and there'd be everything that was charged to his account that week. And then my dad would reach in and he would pull out cash, and he would begin to count out the cash, $20, $25, $35, $40, and he would give it to the store owner. Now, what stood out to me, the store owner always did this. He had a stamp, not like this stamp. He had a stamp and a pad of ink. And he would take that stamp, and it was written on it, "Paid in full." And he'd take that stamp and blot the ink, and then he would press it down. And I can remember watching and looking at that word, "paid in full," week after week, paid in full. Well, that stuck in my mind, that my dad would go and pay the bill he owed. Well, we have a bill with God, a bill too great for us to pay. We can never pay our sin debt. But here's the good news. Even though God has kept a record of every word, every deed, even every thought, every sin is piling up. When Jesus was on the cross, he went to the Father and he said, "Father, give me Truman's account. Give me all of his sins and let me pay fully for his sins." And when Jesus had paid fully for my sins, it was like God was stamping my sins paid in full. I love that. To think that you and I as sinners have had Jesus from the cross declare our sin debt has been paid. Now, how does that apply to you right now? You take the word of God and you go to God and say, "God, I come to you as a lost sinner, but I believe the Bible teaches that Jesus has paid my sin debt. He cried, 'It is finished,' paid in full, and by faith I come to claim his salvation." Oh, what a wonderful, great verse. It is finished. Another great verse for today.